Hey, what's up, world? Thank you for tuning in. This is video 3, my third video, the third part of the series, and it's the last one. And right now I'm drinking my coffee. I decided to bring it with me and let you have a look. Here it is. As you can see, I have my coffee in my cup, and I have my tobacco here. Actually, this is the brand that I bought. I'm not going to show the brand because I don't want to promote anything. I basically use about a pinch. Let's see how. About this much, and I put it in my coffee. I've already put it in, so I'm not going to put it in again. So I'm about to step outside and talk to you a little bit more. So I'll see you outside in a moment. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my third video. Today, this is the third day of me making these videos, and of course my third video. And today it's solar noon, and it's very cloudy today. So it's been getting cloudier and cloudier. The first day was really sunny, but that's okay. We're gonna power through this video. We're gonna talk about some very interesting topics in relation to nicotine. And in this video, I plan to talk about native people that utilize nicotine extensively and how they did it. Because I think that like indigenous people, natives, and ancients had it right, because they had a very strong connection with nature, and they were very in tune with themselves. So I like to use them and analyze them to learn things about myself and the world. Also, I'm going to talk about a couple of more modern day people who are very high profile, very well known, and they use tobacco, or that they smoke. I'm going to talk about them and kind of analyze them a little bit and share my thoughts about them. I'm also going to kind of explain and talk about some of the conclusions that I came to through my own experiment and through my own research that I talked about in the previous two videos. And I'm going to kind of, I guess, explain and talk about like how we can use these things and connect with nature better, and use our environments to our advantage to, I guess, not get any, or to reduce the negative effects that we get from tobacco or nicotine. All right, and I'm also going to talk about something that I wanted to talk about in the first portion of this video, but it was running a little bit too long. I want to talk about melanin and the relationship with melanin and nicotine. If you don't know, melanin is what gives us color. Everyone has melanin, no matter what your race or ethnicity is, and melanin is a major player when it comes down to how we use and handle energy in our body. We have melanin on our skin, in our hair, in our eyes, all throughout our nervous system. We even have it in our brain, which is really mysterious, and there's not much known about it. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit also to finish the video. Okay, so I'll get right into it. First, I'd like to talk about the Native Americans. I'm going to use the Native Americans because they were the last natural, wild, intuitive people in my country. It's where I'm from, and which is another reason why I'm going to use them, because it's the most close to home for me. Of course, it's native. There's native indigenous people all over the world, but I'm going to use them because it's what I guess know the best. All right, the Native Americans, they have an extensive relationship with tobacco. And they began to, from what I've learned, they began to cultivate tobacco about 7,000 years ago. And for them, they considered tobacco to be a sacred plant. They used it for ceremonies and spiritual purposes. So they used this to bring themselves to higher consciousness and to bring themselves closer to God, and also, to just tap into, I guess, the more spiritual side of themselves, which really interests me, because I'm on a spiritual journey. And I want to learn about the spiritualities of other people to increase my own spirituality. The Native Americans, they used tobacco as medicine. They used it to make their minds work better and be sharper, and of course they use it to raise their spirituality. So with them, there wasn't abuse because they used it for specific purposes, and they didn't do it all the time. It was a sacred thing, so if something's sacred, you don't abuse it, of course. But when I say Native Americans, I'm talking about Native Americans that are in their natural situation and their natural environments. And I'm not talking about like today, like people just living in regular houses and dealing with technology and just very, very out of touch with nature. I'm talking about the Native Americans that were in their natural situation, the last wild Americans. All right, so fast forward into the future, like some very well-known people that were known smokers. About a century ago, we had Albert Einstein, one of the great minds of the world, a genius by many accounts. He's the forefather of science and physics, and he revolutionized science, and he brought us far forward, and we have a greater understanding about this world and the universe thanks to him. And he did a lot of this just in his mind. He didn't do any like real experiments. A lot of his experiments were done inside of his head. He just would just sit and just think and just analyze things, and just he would figure things out inside of his head, which is just incredible. And he was a known smoker, and you would think, like, why would a genius do like a really bad habit like smoking? Like, wouldn't they know like the negative effects of it? Even though he did it, I'm not using him to say that smoking is good, but because I don't think smoking is good. But one thing we have to consider is that, or think about, is that the world that he lived in is a very, very different world from today. About a century ago, we had the technology was very, very far behind from what it is today, and the world is very, 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 very different. So, like, smoking today carries far bigger consequences than smoking 100 years ago, because the world is different. We're very, very far out of touch with nature, and nature is very replenishing, and it gives us back what we lose from the bad habits that we have. So even though he did it, even though I'm sure that it didn't, it affected his health in negative ways, that day and time, the consequences were less than they are today. The other person that I am going to talk about, fast forward even more into the future, I guess more like now today, maybe the last 20 years, is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, from what I've read, and I've seen it quite a bit over the internet, he was a smoker. He smoked, like, from what I've read, like 5 or 6 cigars a day, and sometimes he did it before games. And again, I think that's kind of ridiculous, smoking like six cigars in one day. That's insane to me. But who am I to talk? He's Michael Jordan. The guy's incredible, and to me, he's a genius. He's a genius comparable to Einstein. And when I say genius compared to Einstein, like he could do like the same things that Einstein did, but in his own way. Like he had a very, very just broad, just very good understanding of his orientation in space and time, and just how physics and how everything works. And he was able to combine it with athleticism and just, I guess, a precision thought process. He knew where everything was and where everything will be. Kind of like what Einstein did with his studies. He had a very, very good understanding of how everything worked together in coordination with one another. So I consider Michael Jordan like a genius compared to Einstein. You know, just that's a very simplified explanation of it, but I think it's a very good one. And he was a cigar smoker, and you know, I talked about some of like the benefits of nicotine. Like it's a smart drug. It enhances your nervous system, your coordination, and just coordinates your nervous system better. And I think like that had an effect in helping him. But again, the smoking part, I don't agree with it. Maybe if he did a little bit differently, maybe, who knows, maybe things would be even more incredible than they were for him. All right, so again, not using these people to promote smoking, but I just thought they were very interesting to bring up and talk about. And I just wanted to kind of share that with you. You can kind of look into it for yourself and come to your own conclusion about that. But now, what did I learn about my experiment with using nicotine and the research that I did about it? With nicotine, some things that I learned was that actually, like, I've been like reading a book that ties a bunch of academic sciences together. It's a comprehensive study of different sciences in relation to how our bodies use electricity, how the body is an electric semiconductor, and how it uses light. It absorbs light. And I learned from that book. The name of the book is Light Shaping Life. It's by Roland Van Wyck, and it's an academic book. It's pretty difficult to read, but some very interesting information about it that teaches you about light and how we use light to drive our biology and physiology, and how it just brings life. It gives life. And what I learned was that all the cells in our bodies release extreme low frequency UV light. So all of our cells have UV light in them. So that means that we pull in UV light and we store light. And also I learned that smoking, from that book, I learned that smoking makes us lose extreme low frequency UV light. So I guess like my thoughts on that is that, like, if you're gonna smoke, if you're smoking, you're losing light, and of course the dead body doesn't lose any light because it doesn't have any light. So I think light is an essential component to us in life, and it drives us. It's very important and very understudied. And I guess what I'm getting at is that, you know, if you're gonna smoke, you need to be more in tune with nature. You need to be absorbing the energy from the sun, and, you know, I guess to make up for the light that you're losing in your body. And even through my own perception and through my experiment, from what I saw and what I experienced, like when it was sunny and beautiful outside, and when I smoked, everything was better. I was more in harmony. My thinking was better. Everything was smoother. I was just mentally stable, and, you know, and I felt much better when I had light available to me. But also during my experiment, you know, the days were getting shorter, and some days there would be less light. And of course, when I smoked on those days, it didn't feel great at all. It was very, very different. There's a big contrast. It's like day and night. And so that's one thing. You really want to be in touch with the light if you're smoking, because you want to replenish what you're losing. And another thing with smoking, of course, it takes oxygen away from you. Oxygen is really important because it's really important in helping us absorb and use light. And our mitochondria, I talked about mitochondria before in this previous video, and also in some of my other videos. Mitochondria, they need oxygen in order to make energy and release light to the body, and basically feed us energy. And of course, our brain is very, very dense in mitochondria, and it has a very intimate relationship with oxygen. It has a very, very intimate relationship with oxygen and making energy. So for that reason, other reasons, I don't think smoking is good. Only thing, I guess, why people like smoking so much is because it delivers the nicotine the fastest. So you get like immediate, feeling, effect, and satisfaction, because smoking almost immediately puts it into your bloodstream and sends it to your brain. You get the immediate effects, and everybody wants things now, and they don't want to kind of just wait for it and be in a rush. But patience is a virtue. Why not use a safer delivery method than smoking? And what else did I learn about this? What else? I learned that I just mentioned smoking to you. I also used the nicotine gum, which is basically you're basically chewing up a peel, and the nicotine is isolated from all of the other chemical substances and the whole chemistry of the plant. Like, all of these things work together in harmony. And as I mentioned to you before, I don't even do vitamins anymore, because vitamins, isolated compounds taken away from all the cofactors and all the other things within the whole food that work together as a team to nourish you and give you the growth and repair that you need to be healthy. And as I mentioned to you before in my previous video, I experimented with the tea, or putting it in my coffee, and the effects were far more stable, far more enjoyable, and they lasted longer, and there was like less, I had less of a desire to like abuse it. So in its whole food state, it worked much better for me, and which just leads me to believe and think and feel that we should use it in its most purest form possible, and avoid any artificial methods of consuming it, like taking a pill as an isolated compound, or smoking. Smoking is very unnatural, especially if you're disconnected from nature. And so yeah, whole food state. That's my belief on it. Using it as in this whole food state, devoid of chemicals and additives and all this other garbage that the manufacturers put into it to increase your addiction and to keep you coming back and spending your money on their product in their company. So if you can't grow your own, or get it straight from the ground, straight from the Mother Earth, the way nature intended it for us. And that's all I have about my experiment with it. And the last thing that I want to talk about that I didn't talk about in the first video was melanin and nicotine's relationship with melanin. Through my research, I found that like nicotine in tobacco is attracted to melanin. So like if you have lots of melanin in your body, you have dark skin. Everyone has melanin, even you have melanin all throughout your body, nervous system, your brain. And melanin is a major player when it comes down to energy, and also cleaning out your body of free radicals. Melanin does some amazing things, and it's a big time interactor with light. And I just explained to you like some of the importances of light. And again, check out that book, Roland Van Wyck, Light Shaping Life, to learn about all the intricacies of light. And it's very, very deep in science if you're into that, and it'll explain a lot to you. And it's very understudied. We really need to learn about light. Light is a big important thing. But melanin, nicotine is attracted to melanin, and also nicotine stimulates our bodies to make more melanin. And like if you're a lighter skinned person, you know the importance of melanin. You know about getting sunburn, and you know like the detrimental effects of that, and like people worry about skin cancer and things like this. So if you don't have melanin, you know how important melanin is, just for that reason of just being protected from the sun. And it's not even really in my thinking, my thought, it's not even protection from the sun. It helps you, well, it is protection from the sun, but it helps you absorb the sun and helps you use the sun. Melanin is the storage system for the light that you get from the sun. And even plants have something equivalent to melanin, what gives them color, and what basically, like the color in plants, the green color, the chlorophyll in the leaves of plants, it helps them absorb the sun and turn that sun into energy. And we'll go to again, Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared. It basically says that if you reverse the equation, c squared equals energy divided by mass. It means that if you slow light down, you begin to make things. You begin to make nourishment to help you grow and be better and be healthier. And this is how plants create energy. They slow light down through their version of melanin, which is chlorophyll. So to me, melanin is an important thing, and nicotine helps you create more melanin, and you can deal with light in a much better way, and utilize it and empower yourself and be healthier. And melanin, as I mentioned to you before, nicotine helps you absorb more sunlight, and that's one of the reasons in its effect to stimulate melanin. Also, I talked about before that people with neurodegenerative issues like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and things like this, one of the problems that they have with their brains is that their brain loses melanin. Like specifically, the part of the brain is called the substantia nigra, and that's the part of the brain that's very dark in color. It's very high in melanin. People with neurodegenerative problems usually lack melanin. They've lost their melanin, which leads you to believe and think and understand that melanin is very important. It's in the brain and throughout the body in how we metabolize energy. And it's controversial whether the melanin in the brain, the neuro-melanin, is just there for cleaning the brain up, keeping the brain clean and absorbing the free radicals, or if it's using light to transform information into thoughts or just neurological functions for us. That's up for interpretation. But my strong belief is that the melanin is, specifically the neuro-melanin, is very important and something that can help us increase this. To me, I think it's a benefit. But of course, you want to do this stuff safely and in a natural way, and of course in moderation. Moderation is extremely important. We don't want to abuse anything. And something I forgot to mention, some other benefits that I learned from this experiment was that I was able to connect with different people, and I was able to walk in the shoes of different people and kind of understand people's dependence on substances to get them through their day, and I guess just to communicate and just function and go through life. I'm now more sensitive to this. I understand it, and it kind of taught me a lesson about just people and just how we socially connect with one another. So this experiment, it took me to a lot of different places. I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about other people. And I'll stop here. Thank you so much for tuning in to my video. I really appreciate it. I love you so much. You love yourself. And please like, subscribe, comment, browse through my videos. I talk about a lot of other different things, and I explore a lot of concepts about nature and spirituality. And thank you so much. Hope to see you in the future. Bye bye. I'm out. Later. Bye.